Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. This is another week that was for Pokemon Masters X. It's been a bit of a calmer week this week. We've had the Champion Stadium as always, but besides that we've had a few ongoing events, a few that have ended. The new stuff that's dropped is Cobalion in the Legendary Arena. We've got a rerunning of the original Mewtwo event, and then a second Giovanni and Mewtwo event, but we'll get to that later in the video after we've been through the Champion Stadium. So this is our second week of the Champion Stadium back in the Johto region, so we've got that Elite Four to go through. Again, I thought this was a very comfortable week for me. There wasn't any major dramas. So getting into round one, where your condition is a special attack boost, I chose to take on Koga for this one. He was weak to flying types, so the team I went with was Blue and Pidgeot, Christmas Rosa and Delibird, and then Signasude, Elesa and Rotom. Blue and Pidgeot and Elesa and Rotom I think go really well together, so I tend to put them together a lot. It was the third pair that really caused me some consternation for this one. I maybe could have gone with Skylar and Swanna for some healing. I'd have then had to have taken off the healing reduction from my stats. But then I wasn't sure if I was going to use her later on, and then I thought, well, I'm only going to use one of these two for their 6x sync, so is that a waste as well? And I thought, you know, maybe the random stats boosts that you get from all the presents would come in a bit handy. So through the first round, up until that first sync move, you're raising stats with Blue and with Elesa. With Delibird, you can either use a Drill Peck or an Aerial Ace so that you can save some of those trainer moves for a bit later on in the battle. And then when that first sync move comes, it goes to Elesa because she's got that 6x boost. After that, you're going to want to use Air Slash with Blue, not Air Cutter. I was using Air Cutter to hit everyone, but I think Air Slash might actually work a bit better there because you might get some flinching and it's going to do more damage to Koga in there. Elesa is going to use a Breathtaking to reduce that sync move countdown. She's then going to be using her 1-bar move, Thundershock, I think it is. With Rosa, make sure you do have all the presents going for that move gauge increase. Otherwise, Drill Peck or Aerial Ace, whichever you have the move gauge for. And then you get to that second sync move and it goes to Blue. He's got that 6x, so it's going to hit everyone. And also you want to get that Mega Pidgeot for Hurricane, because that's going to be your most damage dealing move through the rest of the battle. I can't remember whether I took out both sides with the sync move. I might have done. If not, they fainted soon after to some air cutters or something like that. Then comes Koga's sync move. That's most likely going to take Elesa out, so Rotom's going to faint. That leaves Delibird to try and tank through while you're hitting as many hurricanes as you can onto Koga to take that guy out. And it's really, can Koga take out Delibird and Pidgeot before you get enough hurricanes in there to take him down? I was lucky in that just before the final hurricane, Koga's attack missed, so that meant that I could get in there with that final knockout blow. In round two, your condition is don't let your sync pairs faint. I chose to take on Will for this round. He's weak to dark types, so the team was Karen and Houndoom, Grimsley and Lipard, and Signasude, Blue and Blastoise. Whenever there's don't let your pairs faint, Blue and Blastoise are always a good bet because you can get that team endurance off of their sync move. The tips said that when Jinx gets its defense raised, that's going to make its attacks more powerful. So I was thinking, okay, it's saying use Persian to reduce the defense, or I could go with Grimsley and I could just snatch it for myself. That feeds in well with Grimsley's trainer move, which is All or Nothing. That raises speed and evasiveness, but reduces defense. So between snatching it off of Will and Blastoise raising the defense, that's going to come back quite easily. So you've got a faster, more evasive, but not less defensive Lipard, if that makes sense. So Blastoise gets that first sync move for that 6x, and also for team endurance. It's using X defense to raise the team's defense to the top. It's going to increase the move gauge and give you a crit hit bonus. After that, Water Pulse to use that passive that raises the special defense. Grimsley is either all or nothing or snatch, and then it goes into either Night Slash or Dark Pulse. Karen is mostly going to be using Snarl through the first phase of the battle. That's going to reduce the enemy's special attack. You want to make sure that you've got stats reductions in there, because a lot of the strategies I'm talking about in there rely on that. And also, when the sync pairs on the other team faint, that's going to reduce stats. So that's what the condition is. You want to make sure that you're not undoing all of that hard work. I didn't use any of Karen's trainer moves because I thought she's going to get crit hit from Blastoise, and it's more important to reduce the enemy's special attack than it is to boost my own. So Snarl through there. Then when it comes to that second sync move, she gets that so that she gets Mega Houndoom. That's going to then do Snarl until the enemy's special attack is as low as it can be. And then your Dark Pulse to do that huge amounts of damage. There are times when you've got this condition where it's worth taking out one side and then the other and then the middle. I don't think this is one of those situations, because the enemy attacks are all going to be reasonably weak, except for the sync move. That's where the danger comes from. So you want to get rid of that middle Pokemon so that that sync move doesn't come. I messed up a little bit. I missed out the timing on one of my sync moves, so I had to wait an extra round to get that. But it didn't affect me too much. I mean, I had Houndoom left at the end, still had a reasonable amount of health, and it took out the enemy quite comfortably. So should be a pretty good round for your Dark types. Moving on to round 3, your condition is stat reductions are going to be much more effective. So again, make sure that you have stats reductions on. Don't use that as one of your conditions in that round, or it defeats the purpose. I chose to take on Bruno for this one, and my team was Sycamore and Xerneas, Lily and Clefairy, and Champion Iris and Hydreigon. Bruno was weak to fairy types, so that's why Xerneas is in there. I know a lot of people aren't going to have Lily and Hydreigon, so you could run this strategy equally as well with Mew, for example, or Mina and Granbull. Dawn and Torterra is also an option. There was like 7 different pairs that I wanted to use in this one battle, and I had to narrow it down to just those 3. I've only recently got Champion Iris, so it was kind of like a show me what you can do, Iris, kind of round there. So Xerneas is in there for its sync move boost, for Horn Leech, which is going to do a lot of damage. Moonbeam, if you get down to it, will be there as a good finisher in this battle. Lily has a tile, which means her Disarming Voice is going to reduce stats, so that comes in very useful in this round. Iris is a master of reducing stats, either through Breaking Swipes or through Snarl. Her sync move also gets more powerful the more the enemy stats are reduced, so it all weaves together for a nice little 3-headed dragon tapestry. Trappist Ales. God, I like Ales. So you want to be using Lily's Disarming Voice as much as possible. In the first few rounds, you maybe want to be doing a Dazzling Gleam. You could use a 3 heads to get that move gauge increasing more quickly. Then you want to move on to your Breaking Swipes, because that's going to reduce Bruno's attack, and as a fighting type, physical attacks are what they tend to deal in. That first sync move is going to go to Xerneas for that special attack boost and that speed boost. Special defense, not so much. And then after that, it's going to be Iris who gets the sync moves. Xerneas is Horn Leeching to keep his health topped up. I would save The World is Vast until after Bruno has used his sync move, because that's when your team's going to have taken some damage and you're going to need that little bit of healing. Another thing you can do is save Lily's Full Force for just before your sync moves. So that means that you're going to get a guaranteed crit hit on that sync, and it's going to be more powerful. And because these moves specialise in reducing stats, they don't do too much damage. So it's a bit of a battle of patience. but because you've reduced Bruno's attacks that much, he's not going to be doing too much damage, and you're never really going to be in much danger of losing this one. So again, Bruno is being made someone's bitch. Your final Elite Four member comes with the condition of a physical attack boost. I saw Karen was weak to fighting types, so I saved this condition for her. I went with B as my main striker. B goes quite well with Eevee, and then you've got Misty in there for special defense boosts and for a bit of evasiveness and passive healing. So you start off by raising B's speed and physical attack. Eevee's most likely going to be doing tackle to try and get some flinching in there and get ahead of the sync move countdown. Misty's going to be raising special defense. I'd be putting a Catch Us If You Can onto Eevee quite quickly to get that evasiveness boost as well, so she's not taking as much damage, and also get that passive healing. Eevee gets that first sync move, it boosts all of those stats. Then when these stats are increased as much as they can be, you're starting off on Meteor Assault. Remember that you've got Let's Go in there from Eevee to boost the move gauge. That's going to make your Meteor Assaults a lot easier to come by. Your second sync move is going to go with B. I used that and it pretty much wiped out Karen. I think it did like 22k damage. That's always good to have. And then it's just a case of get as many Meteor Assaults onto one side so that they go down, and then wait for that second sync move to come and you take out the other side. And then waiting at the end of all that is Lance. His permanent condition is the sync move stats boost is doubled. So the condition I chose to go with that was a physical attack boost, and the reason for that was Lance was weak to steel types. Most of my steel types are doing physical damage, so those two go well together. You've got lots of decent steel strikers and steel units, so the team I went with was Steven and Metagross, Jasmine and Steelix, and Hop and Zamanestra. Still can't remember how to say that. I went with Steven because I've only recently moved him up to 6x, haven't used him in the Champion Stadium yet with that, and I thought, yeah, go on Steven. So in that first round you're raising attack for Steven so that his Haymaker comes into play, raising defense with Jasmine to stop the damage that's incoming. With Hop you can either use a Metal Claw or a Shield Bash, because no one else is really going to be using the move gauge. Jasmine gets that first sync move for that 6x boost. After that, she's either using Gyro Ball or Clang, depending on how much move gauge there is. Steven's going to be using Iron Head. If you're really clever, you can use a Best There Is as his last move before his sync move to guarantee that sync move is a crit hit. Hop is using Hop to it to boost those stats again. You can use potions if you're getting low on health. You probably won't need them very much because I set up that second sync move and it was bang, taken out the middle, bang and bang, wipe them all out. And I was like, yeah, here we go. Oh. Well, the battle's over now. I was just getting into that one. Couldn't you have given me more of a challenge, Lance? But anyway, there's another 7,500 point run for you. Next week we're in Johto again for the third time, so hopefully you'll join me to see how I got through that one. The first of this week's new events is the Legendary Arena. Cobalion has returned for a third time here. I was thinking, haven't we done missions like this for Cobalion before? I went back and checked, and we did. So your missions this time are to use 3 fire types, 3 from Unova, and 3 gym leaders. That's slightly different. Last time you were using Hoenn types rather than Unova types. There's lots of fire types in this game. I think it's the second most popular behind water types. So you've got plenty to choose from. Silver, Flint, Leon, Red, Flannery, Serena, Blaine, and that's just off the top of my head of units you can choose. So there's good variety in there. The only thing I would say is that beware of using strategies that rely on burning, because after his second sync move, or after a sync move used in the second or third bars. I'm not quite sure how it works, but Cobalion can get flameproof. So if you're running with Flannery and you're kind of hoping to use her as a bit of a machine gun with burn synergy in there, or Leon, for example, who relies on burning to max out his damage, you're going to want to think long and hard about if and when you use them in terms of the battle. Because you could use it and then you get a few turns and then it's flameproof and your strategy goes down in smoke. That was unintentional. With some of these legendary arenas, you almost want to have your strongest team second. So you set it up with the first team, you do like 99% of the damage with the second team, so that third team only really has to come on mop-up duty, and they don't have to like spend ages powering up. They can just one sync move, bang, you down. So the first team I used was Skylar, Iris and Haxorus, and Silver and Ho-Oh. That gives you 2 Unova types, 2 gym leaders, and then 1 fire type. So I started off using Sacred Fire, and because I didn't want that special attack reduction to take me down too much, and then I got a burn on Cobalion and I was like, oh no, I was trying not to do that, I'm saving that burn strategy for later, but it cleared and it didn't become flameproof, so I was quite lucky. I then started using Overheat to try and get around that. I could have done more damage with this team if I'd have been sticking with Sacred Fire, but then it's that, do you want to get that flameproof and potentially screw up later strategies? So as usual, when you're using Skylar, using Take Flight, she's then sinking first. She's got her potions to keep everyone topped up. Iris is in there as sort of a secondary striker. Your move gauge refills quite quickly, both because of speed boosts and because of Speeding Sun after Ho-Oh has synced, so you can afford to be using an Outrage and also a Sacred Fire or an Overheat in the same turn. So this team actually did really well. If you look at the graphic here, you can see that it got through both of the first 2 bars and got down to 98% on the final one. At one point I didn't think it was going to make it that far, because after you get past halfway of the first bar, Cobalion gets some passive healing, which brings back a lot of its health, and I was sitting there thinking, oh god, if it keeps going on at this rate, it's going to be back to full health and I'll have done an entire team with no damage. But it didn't. It wore off and the big hits started raining into Cobalion. Bloomin' goat. The second team I used was Hilbert, Flannery and Flint, so that should give you your last Unova type, your last gym leader, and then 2 more fire types. So that's all of the ones you need. You only need to take it out with this team and then 1 more team. And this one started brilliantly. I was doing some good damage with Infernate, Torkoal was chipping in, Hilbert got some flinching as well, and I was like, you know what, I might just do this with 2 teams. And then Flameproof happened, and all of a sudden, instead of doing like 6k damage, I was doing 1k damage, and Flannery wasn't doing anything at all. The sync move came and it took out Flint and Hilbert, and Torkoal was just like, no, and then it fainted. So that meant I had to move on to my final team, and I really needed everything out of this team because it still had a reasonable amount of health left. That team was Dawn and Torterra, Red and Charizard, and Blaine and Rapidash. So it's your standard sort of Sun setup and Sun build with Red and Charizard. Dawn is going to be hopefully doing Attack Siphon and raising the team's defense. You've got Good as New in there. I managed to time that really well, so that bought me a lot more time in this one. And I think that, well, I say I needed everything, but I managed to take Cobalion out with Blaine a little bit of health, and then Red had some health as well. So I maybe had a turn or 2 more. I had a sync move coming up as well. But yeah, I managed to take that goat down again, get my 1000 gems reasonably comfortably. Reasonably. And then this week we've got 2 new Giovanni events. So we've got a rerunning of the first one with him and Mewtwo. So you can either unlock Mewtwo for the first time or rerun it and get those nice rewards from it. And then we've got a new one to kick up the second part of the story. So Giovanni's got Team Rocket on the go again. Your main thing here is you're going to be able to unlock Mew's 6X form, which I think bodes really well for your legendary freebies. Maybe not so good for the ones that have just been for the anniversary, so your Palkia, Xerneas and Kyurem. You might have to wait a while for them because they were just here, but the other ones that are out there, they'll be coming back hopefully soon, and you'll get some more 6X units. The good thing is that every pair from Kanto gets a reward boost and a damage boost for these ones, so plenty of variety there. You can get 3 Kanto pairs from the tickets, from the Ticket Scout that's been released for it. And you get to battle Team Rocket. I like those Rocket Grunts, they're looking really cool. They got swagger. The last thing I want to mention is the shiny Dratini that I hatched from an egg. Yeah, look at that pink little wormy thing. Awesome. So that was another week that was. Hopefully you've enjoyed this week and you're going to get lots of nice rewards from the Giovanni and Mewtwo events that have been released. If you want to join me next week for the week that will be, that would be much appreciated. You're well past the 90-second mark at this point, so hopefully you've enjoyed the video. You can subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, I'm SEOM_YT, so you get notifications when future videos are released. But yeah, join me for the week that will be. Thank you very much for watching this one, and goodbye.